Hello and welcome to this installment of my weekly series, Breaking Free. In this video, I'm working with my wonderful client, Renee, and Renee has come a really long way from feeling like her body was falling apart on her to recognize the emotional and mental load that she was placing on herself, eventually leading to pain. I believe this video is perfect to be shared on YouTube because we go over a variety of topics, such as the fact that structure does not matter, and that actual certain things that we think are causing our pain are very common and normal. And then additionally, the way that emotions, such as anger, show up in our body as pain. These topics are covered in great detail. Renee has a lot of wonderful insights about the pressures that she puts on herself and therefore on her body. And I just think it's a wonderful session that I hope you enjoy and learn something from. If you are watching this session and you feel like pain coaching might be something helpful for you, as it is for these individuals here, then I would encourage you to go to my website, thewindowpain.com, and click on this button here to get scheduled for a free consult with me to see if pain coaching is right for you. And if you didn't know, I also have an online program that is an 8-week self-guided program that you go through at your own pace, no assignments or anything like that. But it teaches you all the things that I've learned in my time as not only a doctor of physical therapy and pain specialist, but someone who has helped people with CRPS for my entire career. Thank you so much for watching this installment of Breaking Free, and thank you to Renee for the courage to share. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Sorry.
That's okay.
I've been waiting. This guy was gonna buy something from me, and I've been waiting for him. And of course, he shows up right when we start.
No problem. Go
Okay.
sell your business.
So how's it going?
Much better than yesterday. Thank you for rescheduling. I have bad sinuses, always have. Territory, I guess, of living in this area. And sometimes it just makes me really, if I get like, I don't have a sinus infection, but just have like a sinus, um, I don't even know what you want to call it. If it's like starts dripping into my stomach, I get really nauseous. And I just was not feeling well yesterday morning. So, but I thank you very much for rescheduling.
Yeah, it's all right. It worked out for me because I was feeling a little under the weather too, so we're good.
Well, good. Everybody's feeling better then. Good.
Yes. What's the plan for this next week?
Great question. Um, Going back to school tomorrow, which is a
Hmm.
good thing.
Hmm.
Um, so wait, what are we talking about? Plan in life, plan in executing this operation.
Just
Like I feel like it
what do
needs to
you
have like this mission of mine. What are we talking about?
just what are you doing next week? That's it. Keep it
Okay.
simple.
Okay. Well, let's see. Starting back to school tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, Cece has her first track meet. She's going to start track this week. And so she has a track meet Wednesday. And then that's pretty much it that I know of right now. Things
Yeah.
will change, I'm sure, as I get to school tomorrow. And um, nothing out of the ordinary though.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's good.
That's actually one of the things I did want to kind of talk to you about was because I had two such great weeks.
Hmm.
And I think I got really overeager. And that happens to me a lot. Like, you know, it's almost like body dysmorphia, where you look at yourself, obviously, and it's not what you think. Same thing with my mind. It's like in my mind, oh, I can go and do all these wonderful things, but my body is not allowing me to do so. But I still go and do them. And then I don't feel the pain until after the fact. So
Hmm.
and I'm saying all of this because I had two such fantastic weeks and we were off for the week of Mardi Gras. I had my infusion that week and Saturday and Sunday is when we celebrated Cece's birthday. So Saturday, she and I were running around town. Um, which is something I haven't done in a long time. We had
Hmm.
a wonderful time. You saw my that's when I was able to wear a different shoe. And then
Yeah.
the next day was her birthday,
Yeah.
which I was on my feet for, the whole time. And I
Yeah.
could feel it by Sunday evening starting to kind of act up. And I was like, I don't think I'm gonna be able to make it Monday to work, which I wasn't, but I could not get back out of it. I could not come get myself back out of this, you know, this flare. Um, and then of course, reaching out to you helped me remind myself, yes, I know it is taking time. It is not going to be a completely upward trajectory. And that these things are going to happen and it's just going to be a setback, you know, so forth and so on. That did help. Don't get me wrong. Like I feel a lot better, after reaching out to you. And I should have done so earlier. I don't know why I didn't, to be honest with you. Um, and I also think that I'm really trying to stay away from, and I want to just get off of my pain medicine. I want to get off of Percocet.
Hmm.
And I was trying to do that this week. And I think that also messed up my system.
Hmm.
It was just I think it was kind of like a perfect storm situation.
Yeah, that could be. I think that there
Are
are,
you reading something while trying to talk to me?
no, I'm
How many,
I'm
how many
talking to you.
screens do you have up?
It's one huge screen. That's it.
Jesus, I see your eyes going back and forth.
Yeah, so I have it's the in the center is the Zoom screen right here, and then
Uh-huh.
over to the side is our notes from last week. And
Gotcha.
then this side is kind of where I let you into the room, basically. So it's hard for me because of where the camera is to keep my, if I wanted to look directly at you, I have to do this.
Yeah.
So
No,
that's how
it's
you
so
fix
funny because I'm like, what is he doing while here I am
it.
talking?
Yeah, so there's a lot of things that the reason I said that Mondays are the number one day for heart attacks to occur is because you had a week off, you had a wonderful week,
Yeah.
things were amazing, you were doing whatever you wanted, whenever you wanted,
Yep.
and then all of a sudden school's starting again.
Yeah.
And we might love work, we might love our job, but there are certain responsibilities and things that come with that.
Right.
And so what I was trying to point out to you is that, even though maybe like you don't notice it, subconsciously you have the pressure of returning to work and nobody wants to do that after an amazing week off.
Yeah. No, you're
Um,
right.
and so what I was trying to encourage you to look at is like maybe you didn't get too gung-ho and overdo anything. Maybe that this flare was actually a result of the emotions behind, well, now I go back to reality.
Very, very true.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so this is why I always say, if the body was the problem, it would happen instantly
Hmm.
when we're doing something. There wouldn't be, a
Yeah.
lag
You
time.
have said that before. You're right.
Yeah. So I want you to hold on to notice that, but then I
Yeah.
also want you to also give yourself grace like you are in that there's ups and downs on this journey.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage you to not necessarily uh even though it feels like it, this consider this when this happens, consider this all right, this is one of our dips. This is one of our down times, our rest times. We'll often call it a setback, but remember this chart
Yeah.
right here, if you're okay, so if you started here
Hmm.
and our quote unquote setback is here,
It's
look at
pretty
where we
good.
are.
Yeah.
We're still
I'm
higher.
feeling upward. Yeah.
And when the next one comes, we're going to be way up here still.
Okay.
Okay, so
I like that. That's a better way of putting it too.
yeah, so this is a dip, and I have my own, dips in like mood and things like that, okay,
Yeah.
throughout life.
Sure.
And you just continue on, but noticing the correlation between like when you messaged me and you said I don't feel like anything's going on, I can't tell, I started to think, okay, she's had the last week
Oh, that's
off.
right. I did. You're right. I did reach out to you on Monday when you mentioned the heart attack. Yes.
Yeah, and I was
Yeah.
like, she's had the week off. It's Monday. She's gonna go back to work. I was like, all right, here, this is probably it.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think too, like even just preparing, like what were we going to talk about? I think I did come to the realization over the last 24 hours, I have a big fear of failure.
Mm,
And it's weird because you would think that someone who has a fear of failure
mhm,
would want, um, I think of it, I go immediately to my body because I think that someone who has a fear of failure would want to work on my body more than I have on my mind. And I think that because I look at it as my body has been basically been failing me since I was 12. Why keep trying?
Mm.
Um, that's why when just a friend of mine, teachers share everything with each other. So a friend of mine shared that resistance video with me just before I sent it to you, and it made me feel like, oh my gosh, that's kind of me, like that fear of the unknown. When I don't know something, it's not. I love learning, don't get me wrong, but there is that space when the teacher was explaining, that uncomfortable feeling between not knowing something and actually knowing something where you're comfortable with it. Like, I fear that unknown space. Like, I really feel like that's where I don't want to be
Mm.
at all.
Hmm.
Um, so I have, I just have this fear of failure.
Where do you think that comes
I
from?
knew you were going to ask me that question. I think it really comes from my dad. I
Yeah.
do. Um, I think I told you that, I think I told you my mom was a stay-at-home mom. Um, my dad, and I don't say this lightly, was probably one of the most brilliant people I will have ever, come in contact with. Um, just unbelievably brilliant, really and intellectually smart man. I mean, he's the oldest of seven. His parents were both teachers, and he played football for Tulane on a academic scholarship.
Wow.
And then from there went to Tulane Law School while playing football, continued to play football there on an academic scholarship, was top of his class, um, came back to, could have stayed in New Orleans, but didn't want to raise a family in New Orleans, came back to, our area and just had an um, unbelievable career.
Mhm.
Like, I think I've used this with you before that he's really an Atticus Finch type. Um, did I tell you that?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
you said that before.
I mean, grew up watching him not like help people and them literally trading, his time for like crawfish. We'd go and like ice skate. I remember my first time ice skating was on a crawfish pond. And it was a client of his who was giving him some crawfish and it was frozen, had frozen over.
Yeah.
And my sister and I went ice skating. Like, that's the type of person he is. And I should say was, because since he's had his surgeries, he really isn't the same, his brain surgeries. But and I don't necessarily want him to be, the exact same that he was, because he was definitely not perfect in any sense, but he was intelligent. And so I think that's where I strive.
How come?
Then this is where it's going to make me cry. And I don't know why I'm getting so emotional about it right now, but when I was in college, he wrote me a letter. And this won't, I'll never forget this. He told me that when I was in college, that I was his intellectual equal. Like, I can't even say it. And maybe that like plays a major role in the back of my mind of like what I have to strive to be. I don't know. Like, that's just coming up right now.
Let me ask you this. Why are you striving to be something he's already said you are?
Because I definitely don't think that I am. That's a great question. I don't like you for asking that question. That's a
It
really good point.
sounds like you've already gotten his approval and more. And I think, if you were honest with yourself, and if you reflected on this the same way you look at Cece, does Cece have to do anything to earn your approval?
Of course not.
Yeah, so, then put that on you and your dad.
Yeah.
I would imagine that he's loved and admired you for a long time to be able to say like, wow, my daughter is, my equal.
Yeah.
Um,
You're right. Why don't we see ourselves like that though?
because we're just, I don't know.
Shit.
Yeah. Well, we're hypercritical.
I know, I know. I didn't
You
mean it
know?
like we are shit. It's just shit. We're
So
hypercritical. I know.
So I want to also say something to you, and I know you won't like this, but your body hasn't been failing you since you were 12. Your body's been trying to communicate with you since you were 12.
Okay.
That
Can you elaborate?
the pressure you put on yourself to strive to something that you've already attained and therefore is unattainable, is too much.
Wow.
It's like a teapot. It's saying enough. Turn the heat down.
Wow. Because that's it's so funny that you say that because I often say, man, this is too much. This is too much. This is too much. And for you to just say it, it's more validation of like, yeah, I do think it's too much.
What's interesting is all of us have a phrase. Mine was set me free.
Mhm.
And I don't know why I would say that to myself. I'd always have this image in my head of like ripping like chains up from the ground.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why the motto is what it is, because that's how
Yeah.
I visualized it. But this is too much is a perfect phrase too.
Well, and I don't use it. That's interesting. I don't use it to say that the pain is too much. I feel like sometimes the rat race, of life is too much. And then you put on top of it an illness. And of course, it's like
Yeah.
that's where I just kind of want to go into like a cell.
What do we use to run a race?
What do you mean?
What body part?
Feet.
Yeah.
There's
So
no coincidence that I just used that analogy.
right. Exactly. And this is the difference between what I do and medicine. Medicine doesn't listen to that part.
No.
So where's that letter? You still have it?
Yeah, I have it. Oh yeah, I definitely still have it. And that's one thing I have some boxes, old hat boxes that I just put things like that in. So I still have it. I have to go through the boxes and get to them, but yeah, I have it.
That should be a project this week. Let's go get the letter. Find it.
Oh Lord, you know how much, excuse my language again, shit I have to go through to get to it.
Yeah. Both physically um and
Yeah, because it
mentally.
because it is. It's just it's a lot of memories. Even it's just even stuff that my ex-husband gave me are in these boxes, and that's why I'm just like, okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I think that task for this week or the next 2 weeks is going to be really important. And I want you to pay attention to how your body feels as you think about or start to complete the task.
could we try 2 weeks?
2 weeks is fine. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And again, as long as you begin,
yeah,
you're not failing. I
yeah,
also want you to know that this dark space that you describe between knowing and or not knowing and knowing, this space that you don't like to be in,
hmm.
it's the very space that you help other people traverse as a teacher.
I know, I
And
know.
and so, that space is the space that where the growth is.
Oh, I
Um,
mean, that's why when I saw that video, I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, of course, it not only hit home as a teacher, but I was like, this is so much of what you and I kind of talk about too. Like, I know this is staying in the struggle. I understand, that whole growth mindset. Doing it is just not easy.
yeah, yeah. It's hard when you're in it to recognize that this is what growing feels like.
Yeah,
This is what you've signed up to do hard things. These are the hard things. And
yeah,
you know for sure that not facing them will keep us in the same place. It's
yeah.
interesting. I finally, after 8 sessions, I got another client to finally admit the emotional connection to things.
Hmm.
Um, and First thing she says, "Does this mean I have to talk about my ex-husband?"
See,
And I started
it's a
laughing.
it's a it's a grow it's a theme.
Oh yeah, there's so many themes, and there's some of my videos in the works are going to be just a whole bunch of clients talking
Bitching
about
about ex-husbands.
certain themes. Yeah, ex-husbands, sisters that aren't talking to them, the financial burdens they're having, the spouse that was an alcoholic. It's all connected.
Yeah.
Um, Taking
Well,
care of parents.
that's interesting too that I don't think I've mentioned this to you. at least I don't think I have, that both my dad, my brother-in-law, and my husband are all alcoholics.
Mm,
And I mean, I know there's no coincidence there.
yeah.
I
It,
had absolute no clue, not a clue that Jason was an alcoholic. I did not have a clue. I mean, he and I would drink socially on weekends. He's a diehard LSU fan. And so LSU is like his hunting season for, where like I don't see him basically during LSU football season, but he would drink just beer all day long. And I know this is going to sound so horrible, and it is, but where we live, it's so typical, it's so normal. We grow up around it, and he was a functioning alcoholic, a lot like my dad was a big time functioning alcoholic. Um, and I never saw it until he just got his 2-year chip. And so it was 2 years ago. We both were like, let's just give up drinking for Lent. And we both did. And within a week of doing so, he stopped me and he says, I can't do this by myself. He says, I think I'm an alcoholic. And I said,
wow.
well, I said, okay, well then, you know, how do you want to handle it? What do you want to do? And how do I help you? And ever since then, he goes to AA meetings um, every single day, sometimes twice a day. Or he'll come home and he'll do one at night on Zoom. But he doesn't miss a meeting. He doesn't go
Wow.
on the weekends. But I mean, the work that he has done on himself in the past 2 years, and I've told him this, especially since like you and I have started. I told him, I said, he's such an inspiration for me wanting to get better too, because of the work that he's done on himself through AA is it's really impressive. Now, my dad, on the other hand, had to get sober kind of by force. He was he was possibly going to be just bored if he didn't. It had
Mm,
gotten,
wow.
yeah, his got real bad.
Yeah.
Um, and he couldn't control it. So he did. He had to go to rehab. Um, and I don't remember if it was 30 days or what. Um, and then yes, and my brother-in-law still unfortunately drinks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's we shouldn't ask why the addiction, we should ask why the pain, because the
Yeah.
substance is doing something for us,
Right.
you know. For me, it's my Amazon shopping or going to the gym to work out. For my brother, unfortunately, it was alcohol. And so but yeah, there's a book that I could recommend about that too when you get through uh whichever one you're reading now. What are you
Mine's
reading?
still in my car.
Fair enough.
It is, but that's the place. Remember, we decided that's where I was going to keep it. So
Yeah.
that's where I have it with my pens and I write in it. I just haven't read this week because I literally have not left my house this week.
Yeah.
Um, and that it could be that's something that I should have put down as a win, actually, even though it doesn't sound like it's a win, because this is the first time that I've been home all week long and I'm going crazy. Like,
Good.
yeah,
So not feeling comfort, feeling stir
yes,
crazy.
just feeling stir crazy, and that's a win. I should have put that um on your page, and I need to go back and add that.
Yeah.
Sorry,
No.
that was a big time deterrence, but yeah, I forgot the name of the book. I don't remember the name of the one I'm reading right now.
The one you're reading right now, is it when the body keeps a score?
Nope.
When the body says no, or the mind body prescription?
Mind Body Prescription.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
No,
I think that, sometimes we get paralyzed by the expectations we put on ourselves. It's like we can't even possibly meet it. And so we can't even move, it's like
yes.
it's futile. And those expectations, especially coming off a vacation, going back to school, they come in and they hit you like a train,
Yeah.
and you feel that. And so unwinding, what these expectations are, finding that letter and realizing like we've always been good enough, um, is important.
Okay. I will. I'll go. Give me at least 2 weeks, but I will
That's
go
fine.
through it. Because I really do. I have like three hat boxes. My grandfather giving me these nice looking hat boxes. I think it was when I graduated from high school, and I still have them. So it would be a lot to go through to find one letter.
Yeah,
Just
well, you're gonna find some things in there that'll probably surprise you, things you want to throw away, all kinds of stuff. And I think,
yes, yeah, some things I'll probably want to throw away. You're right.
yeah, I think that'll be cathartic in its own way.
Yes, yes, I agree
Uh,
with you. I
yeah,
just have to be careful because like Cece knows that I was married before, but I don't want to tell her about, you know, she asked me like why did you get divorced? So I said he just wasn't a very nice person. I just kind of leave it there. Like I don't want to speak ill of him. I don't want to tell her the dirty things, like I don't want her to know I don't say dirty, like the darkness that was so much about marriage.
yeah,
So I just need to be careful of what could be those boxes.
yeah, yeah. It's all right. She goes to school. You'll be working, but you can
Yeah,
find
I'll
time.
find some. I will. And then that's why I said 2 weeks.
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
find some time when she's not around. I
No
could do.
rush. I think that'll be
Yeah,
good. Okay. And then from a physical standpoint this week, what are you gonna do?
go to school,
Yep. And
walk
then
Oliver.
yep.
I'm going to. Oh, I keep forgetting to get my bucket for sand because I have my sand, but I don't have a large enough Tupperware. So I need to, that's the only thing I need to get is Tupperware that I want to do this week.
Okay. Yeah. The sand.
Um, I really want to
Exposing
do
the
the
foot to
sand.
sand.
hmm And oh, can I ask you a PT question actually while we are kind of in that realm?
Yeah.
So it'll be 2 years in May that I don't know the exact name of the surgery, but I just kind of call it reconstruction of my left foot.
hmm
So, um, what ended up happening was because I had the injury at 12 on my right foot, I've always babied it, and flat feet ran in my family. And because I've always babied my right foot and put all of my weight anytime I'm standing up, and I still do it, onto my left side, my arch collapsed. In fact, like right now, I can still feel it. It's hurting.
hmm
Uh, and so doctor went in and created an arch, elongated my Achilles. Um, and so right where my arch now is, I have a scar that runs, right alongside of it. I get these I feel like last night I was like, Jason, I need you to, rub this knot out. I get these knots in my feet, in my left foot. They hurt so much. And then they also radiate up into like my ankle bone, I guess what I want to call it. And last night when he was rubbing this one out, it literally felt like there was, like it was just a long piece of muscle that like a guitar string, like somebody was playing the guitar string. Is instead of like on a weekly basis asking him to, basically beat my foot up, what could I do to even at the end of the day to help release those?
Yeah, I would do some stretching, some specific stretches. I can send you them. Some
Oh, that'd be
stretches
great.
for the plantar fascia. Um,
See, and it's not plantar fascia. It's in my, well, look, well, I'm, telling you it's not. I've had plantar fasciitis before. It's definitely not the same
sure,
feeling. Okay.
but it's under your foot, right? Bottom of your foot.
It's in the arch,
Yeah.
more than anything. It's not in my heel. I don't have any problems in the heel.
Yeah, so the plantar fascia is the whole bottom of the foot.
Okay.
All of the tissue there.
Right.
And so, whether it's that or, the scar tissue or what, doesn't matter. We're still going to stretch it the same way.
Okay.
And I'll give you a few things that you can do to push it up against the wall. Also, another thing you can do is like rolling a frozen golf ball against it, or something like that. That's another technique you can do. You can
Okay.
literally just find a golf ball, cool it down in the freezer, and then roll it on the foot as a massage tool.
Okay.
But the stretching, before or after walks is the important part.
Okay.
And I want you to know that flat feet affects 40% of the population. So, and not everyone has foot or pain issues.
Mhm.
So a lot of times a lot of people get fixated on these structural things. I would pay attention to when you're noticing this foot pain and then why. Like I said, your body's communicating with you.
Well, I know that I've been without my any type of support for over a week and a half now. And I can that's why and it's probably the longest that it's taken for me to go without any type of support, whether it's a brace or whether it's like my specific like one specific pair of Hoka that I have always helps it. And I have not worn those in about a week and a half.
Nice. So it's getting
Yeah,
used to it.
yeah,
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 we got to get it used to it again, you know. It'd be the same thing as like if I just net didn't wear shoes at all everywhere,
yeah.
I would have so much to get used to. You know, my toes would have to get used to spreading out further and I
Mhm.
would have to get used to the texture I'm walking on as I
Right.
go through parking lots and into stores, you know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's where you're transitioning from this support and then you're getting used to not having it. So that's probably a big reason why too.
Okay. Well, that's yeah, that's a really good reframe. Um, because I was just like, man, I'm always gonna have like these knots, this and that. And I told Jason last night, I said, I'm gonna ask Jason as like PT standpoint, how would I do this? And then now that we talk about it, it's much better. The pain's still there.
Yeah.
That's how I'm starting to also notice, Chase, which I also think is another one, the difference between the emotional pain and actual physiological pain.
Yeah.
Um, I'm sorry, my nephew is calling
You're
Cece
okay.
through Kids Messenger and it goes through my phone. Um, is that wait, I was going to say the difference between physiological pain and emotional pain, yes, is that like I know with my left foot a lot of it is um from the is physiological because of something like not wearing the arches for a while causes it to will cause
Be
it to
sore, sure.
be sore. Where when my feet are on fire and I can't put a sock on it or something like that, now that I have what would Chase ask me? That's really what I tell myself now. It's like, what question is Chase going to ask me if I tell him right now I'm in pain?
Yeah.
And it's usually, okay, what are you feeling? Once I'm able to identify it, it really does. I mean, it's kind of life altering.
Yeah. Yeah. It changes you from feeling like you're trapped in a quote unquote in your words failing body.
Yeah,
And instead you realize like you have this weird, annoying superpower to be like, all right, there's something I need to pay attention to.
yeah,
A lot of times it's anger at, you know, expectations we've placed on ourselves or we perceive others have placed on us. It's anger at the responsibilities of life that we love and also really are really
yeah.
frustrated with. Um, have we done this anger reveal before?
No,
Okay,
I
you're
don't
gonna
know
think
why you're laughing. Why
it's
you
fun.
say it.
It's funny. It's like one of those things that it's like there it is right in front of my face all along.
Okay.
So okay, so here it is. You can stop me if we've done it, but
I
what
don't think
is the
so.
main color in association with CRPS?
Oh, orange,
Orange, yep. And what is the main element that you see in most of the images when it comes to CRPS?
fire.
Fire. And if you're reading through Mind Body Prescription,
Hmm.
uh, have you seen, or what is the emotion that Sarno is saying is repressed and causing these conditions?
Anger.
Okay. Have you seen Inside Out?
I've seen parts of it. Honestly, I don't enjoy it as much as people like it.
Okay, well, there's a variety of emotions, right?
Yeah. Oh, fire, orange.
Oh, I love that. So
Mm,
it's literally right there.
yeah.
We are in there's a burning, you know, a smoldering that's taking place in our limbs.
Hmm.
And when we are angry, what color does our face turn?
Red,
What color does our limbs turn?
red.
Yes.
Hmm.
And, you know, what is most often the reaction in these groups to posts?
What do you mean by,
So not in my group, but in some of these other groups, when
oh,
they're
anger?
yeah, people are
Yeah.
just and this is why I try to be compassionate to people in the groups because they are just seething with
Yeah.
anger that they don't know is there because they've been used to it their whole life. Uh,
Hmm.
good girls don't get angry, push it down.
Mhm.
Don't lash out. It's bad. It's, and then that emotion becomes dangerous for us to feel, and it's easier to feel physical pain than it is emotional pain in that situation.
Mhm.
And
That's a
so,
good
yeah,
point.
when you can look at the emotion and say, yeah, I am angry. I give and I give and I give to this school, and I feel like all that's happening is taking, or yeah, I am
Yeah.
angry. I had this extra responsibility placed on me as, to become a mom, and I didn't have a guidebook,
Yeah.
uh,
Right. Well,
and
I think we did do something like this before, and I remember this now because I remember saying that I don't feel anger. I feel a lot of sadness. And I remember you asking me if I knew what how did you put it? But basically sadness is um
like a derivative.
derivative of or a manifestation of anger or something of the sort.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Grief is a combination of, sadness, anger,
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it's good to notice these things, and that's why when you notice your emotions, they don't become scary anymore,
Yeah.
and your brain goes, "Oh, she's okay. I don't need to protect her by having this pain."
Right.
And then you move from there.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're absolutely right. And it's not fun to do whatsoever.
Yeah.
It's sad because I don't consider myself like someone who has gone through serious trauma. I mean, yeah, chronic illness is not fun, but I don't think it as traumatic where I feel like what do people who have gone through serious traumatic events in their lives, um, what, and I know I shouldn't compare myself because comparison is is, excuse me, as I move, um, comparison will rip you of any happiness. But I always think like, yeah, I have this illness, but someone else is suffering somewhere else and it's worse than mine. And, I shouldn't complain about it. I know I probably said this before. I've probably talked about this before.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to rearrange myself right here because I don't really have a working desk.
You're fine. Yeah. You know, it's not really about the trauma or grading it on like a scale, right? It's a matter of, and it's not even a matter of the event. It's more so the matter of how you perceived it as a child or during your life. So you could have a rather minor event and as a child perceive it as something really catastrophic and not even recognize that that's the case, for one. Um, people
I always forget about perception.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, like imagine, you have a Christmas where, there was some sort of toy that was out of stock and your parents didn't get it for you, and then you as a child perceive that as, they don't love me.
That mean, yeah,
Yeah, and so, there's perception and then there's how we understand it and things like that. But
sure.
and at the same time, the way that people deal with the things that happen to them in their life is vastly different too. Some
Yeah,
of the most successful and amazing people lived a life that was paved with extreme trauma.
right.
And so that's a token to resilience too. That's something that no matter what's happened, you can build. It's a skill
Yeah.
that you can build. So yeah, and people with trauma, not everyone gets CRPS. Um,
No.
it could be something else. It could be interstitial cystitis. It could be,
Mm.
um, you know, instead of CRPS, it could be chronic neck or back pain.
Yeah.
This is essentially the human condition, the things that we're dealing with. This is, I kind of conceptualize it as suffering from taking on too much.
Yeah.
You know,
I would be really interested in learning. And I remember when one of the videos that you did that I always think is one of my favorite of your videos, where you did your map and you showed all the places that you have patients from or people that you've worked with. I'd
yeah,
be really interested to see the difference in people who have reported CRPS in the United States versus the rest of the world because of our lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
what's your, oh, you're about to tell me another book I need to go read.
No, I'm looking at the map because I hung it up.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, you know, that's exactly right. So
What?
it's not only like the pressure of our lifestyle. There is a book
No.
called The Myth of Normal by Gabor Mate.
Okay.
I don't have it here, but the pressure of our lifestyle is not only part of it, but the awareness of the condition is also part of it. So here's
Awareness of the CRPS condition or
of
awareness of,
CRPS, yeah.
okay.
The awareness of the condition itself. So the mind and the brain selects what's in vogue uh for like the pain to present, and so for example, 20, 30 years ago, it was gut problems, ulcers,
Oh,
stomach issues. You drive down the road, you'd see ulcer posters everywhere.
hmm
Where are they now? Well, we've figured out that stress is the thing inducing ulcers, stress and life pressure.
hmm
So what's taking its place? Back pain. Drive down the road
Really?
now, see billboards of back pain everywhere.
You true. It's true.
But it's harder for people to make that association. And so back pain continues to persist, and we have surgeries and we do all these things. And
Right.
this is the same thing is true for whiplash. In the UK and versus, I think, Finland, they have the same prevalence of motor vehicle accidents. But in the UK, they have like 10 times the reported amount of whiplash cases and neck pain.
Really
And I think it's because it's advertised in the UK. It's not in Finland.
interesting.
Yeah, so it's twofold. It's the pressures of life
Yeah.
manifesting this thing, and then the awareness of the
Awareness of it. I
condition.
get it. Yeah. Makes
And
a lot of sense.
and by extension there, what do you think happens when there's an awareness of the adverse effects of ice on CRPS?
Stay away from it.
Well, that's the message. But when you really dive into the research, there's not much that says that ice is bad. In fact, there's some people that only get relief from ice. And
I
so,
can't imagine. Like, I think immediately I think of like the benefits of what I understand of like a cold plunge. I can't even imagine like putting my fingers into a cold plunge, much less.
is that because of the fear of what ice might do because of what you've heard about CRPS and ice?
But well, yes. Well, no. Yes and no. I don't know if I can say it that way. Um, One, I don't think I have told you this too, but I also suffer from Raynaud's.
Okay.
Um, so and I have it in both hands and I have it in both of my hands and both of my feet.
Yep.
Um, so that was number one, and two, 100% the fear of what it could possibly do.
So that's a big thing. They on these support groups, there's a lot of talk about ice being bad. But if you
Mhm.
actually look at the posts, 50% of people commenting are saying ice helps me. Um,
Yeah.
and so, I was diagnosed with CRPS. I do cold plunges. I'm
God,
okay.
I can
And so
get it.
yeah, and so when you really explore the research, it's anecdotal evidence. It's people who
Mhm.
used ice all day long, and then that
Mhm.
caused an injury. A normal person using ice all day long will injure them.
Sure.
Um, and so therein lies the problem. If you have an extreme fear of what ice is going to do to you, and the
Yeah.
mind is as powerful as it is, when you use ice, is it any coincidence that you feel spread?
No,
No. And
no
and
coincidence.
and so that's exactly right. The mind perpetuates the condition. And
Don't you think the same thing can happen with, and I know we kind of touched on pain medicine a little bit. Don't you think the same thing though can happen with like taking pain medicine?
yes, 100%, and it does. And
Mhm.
there's a book on my shelf called The Expectation Effect that depicts that.
Okay, you're just gonna have to, we're gonna have to start putting these in the notes of all of the ones, the list of books Renee eventually has to read before she dies.
I've been thinking about starting like a little book club of sorts.
Oh, now that I would be interested in.
Yeah, I might do that. I'm
Because
going to
it's,
announce it next month.
yeah, because it's so much easier to talk to people about the things that you're reading than, and then I love book clubs. I mean, well, hello, but
Yeah.
um, yes, count me in if you do a book club.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Another client gave me the idea, and so now we got two that are in
Well, that's
on
a
board.
great idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So in the expectation effects, he discusses how they gave students they did it with medication, but let's say they did it with actually pain medication.
Okay.
But the one I'm thinking of the most is this energy drink experiment.
Mm.
No, no, no. Sorry, it wasn't it was like energy pill experiment.
Oh,
So they had this like medication that was designed to give them energy.
okay.
Okay. And they brought in the students and they had two groups. They had one where they were giving them placebo, where
Yep.
they were giving them this energy pill. And
Hmm.
the energy pill group reported that they felt very energized, very focused. They were doing really great. And the other group, reported they didn't know it was placebo, so they reported, mixed,
Yeah.
things. The group that had the energy pill reporting those high levels of energy, they were actually taking like a sleeping aid.
Really?
Yeah, but they had this belief that
It
this
was
was
energy.
helping them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was like counteracting the effects in a certain way. The mind, people underestimate the power of the mind, and if it can
Oh,
change the outcomes of something like that, imagine what it can do when we're told by doctors that we have a debilitating lifelong
yeah.
condition that will never go away.
No, we become that condition.
Yeah, yeah, it consumes you.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
does. It absolutely. I mean, honestly, I really think that I had, before you and I started working together, like, I really think that my identity was that. I really do. Um, I don't think it just consumes you. At least for me, I don't think it just consumed me. I think I began to take on that identity, and slowly I'm starting to peel that, that I don't know, what do you want to call it? Identity away. I don't know what that word is that I'm looking
Yeah,
to say,
yeah. The persona.
but persona, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah,
Um,
you're finding Renee again. That's the
yeah,
important
I
part.
am, which
Yeah,
is a wonderful thing. In
yeah.
fact, I think about you more and more, which I don't know if is a good thing or not, but you often talk about, the athletes or whatnot. And I love Netflix's, any of their I like watching their documentaries. And so last night I started watching, have you seen oh shoot, now what's the freaking name of it? Starting Five, is it?
I,
About
I
the top five NBA players. And I love the game of basketball, but I don't sit there and watch, NBA player, specifically NBA. But for some reason I was interested in it and I wanted to know, like, who are these people? And the story is not only what they do on the court, but off the court. And that's kind of more I wanted to know, like, what do they do off the court? And it really made me think of, you talking so much about comparison of, like, you have to train kind of like an athlete in a sense. And like, so it was like, so far it's like LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, and three others. I don't remember their names offhand, that they follow their on off court life from the 23-24 season, and what these men put their bodies through. But what's even more interesting, it's not just their bodies. I mean, it's so much of what you and I have been talking about. It's their bodies and their minds. And to hear athletes like LeBron James talk about how he has to mentally prepare himself, like from 6 a.m. until he steps on the court at game time, he is getting his body and his mind in shape for that game. And it really is very eye-opening, because as much as you tell me, yes, yes, I can always understand, and a professional athlete is going to train, but until you watch something like that or possibly read it, I was really eye-opening. For
yeah.
me, it was.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's fantastic that you've like stumbled upon that in a certain way.
Yeah, yeah, I really did. And it's all five of them talking. He so far is the most impressive because he's the oldest and has been in the league the longest. But some of it's the veterans who you see the difference, where they're having to prepare their body and their mind. Where I think two of them are just entering the league, and they're all about, they just want to play ball and they just want to hoop and they don't care, about injuries and this and that. Where the other ones do. And so it is interesting to listen to the differences between the ones who have learned, the ropes around the court, so to speak,
Yeah.
and those who are just entering it. But it's a mind body balance that and they have this team of people. Like, I mean, shoot, it'd be wonderful if we all had this team of people around us And I know you're gonna tell me, yes, we do. We have our family, we have our friends, but like these medical professionals who walk around with them, they cook everything for them. They massage them at all times. They, are there to work out with them at all times. Like, yes, if we could all have millions of dollars to do this, we would be in great shape. And hopefully I wouldn't be, laying around here in a bed for a week watching Netflix.
Well, what you're telling me is they're using their financial ability to practice self-care.
Yes,
Um, and practicing self-care can be done for
in
free.
different ways.
And
Yes.
yeah, it might be watching Netflix.
I
Um,
know.
but no, you're absolutely right. And what's interesting is Michael Phelps, you know him.
Yeah,
He is, arguably the best swimmer of all time
right.
forever. Um, he had a race where he was racing and his goggles came off and
Hmm.
his swim cap got kind of tangled. And he still finished the race, he still won. And at the end, the interviewer said, Michael, how did you manage that to happen, something so expected to happen, mid-race? And he said, I visualized it thousands of times.
Oh, wow.
And so your brain doesn't know the difference between visualizing something happening and actually doing it.
No,
Um, and so that's part of the mental process by which these athletes go through. There's
just
Kobe.
that visualization of it. Yeah.
Yeah, Kobe Bryant, he would on the court. That's why his nickname is Black Mamba.
I
Black
know
Mamba.
I never knew why it is. Tell me.
So Black Mamba is a persona he created
Huh?
to embody the type of athlete he wanted to be on the court.
Okay.
And so he created this persona because, being Kobe Bryant on the court wasn't going to be ruthless enough.
Mm,
And so when he would get, that was a mind trick that he would do when he would go onto the court. Beyonce has Sasha Fierce.
right.
She started out a singer in church and she didn't have the confidence to go on the stage, so she created a persona called Sasha Fierce to go on to the court. And yours truly has Chase.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, I think we talk about our names yet?
No, we haven't.
Okay, so when I was in my undergrad, and this is before I read the book that I learned all this stuff from called The Alter Ego Effect.
Okay.
Um, but when I was in undergrad and my master's, my mom had passed away. I had kind of like got depressed, kind of became reclusive. I was still recovering from CRPS, all these kinds of things. So
Yeah.
I would just go to school, go home, not really talk to anybody. I was pretty angry and I didn't even realize it.
Yeah.
And um, when it came time to go to my doctorate program, I had realized like this is not a good way for me to live. Like being isolated, being angry, playing Xbox and working out, but just like not taking
Mm.
care of myself. I need to change it. So I decided that all of the traits that I felt were not so desirable at the moment, I would put in Austin, which is my first name. And
Hmm.
all of the traits that I was striving for, I would consider Chase. And when the email came out,
Really?
yeah, and when the email came out to introduce my doctoral class, there was another Austin, and so I was like, okay, I don't want to just be another Austin. So I emailed back first. I said, very nice to meet you all. My name is Austin Chase Teagarden, but you can call me Chase. And I would go to school, and every time someone would call me Chase, it was like a reminder in my head, like this is who you want to be. This is who you're trying to be. And within 4 weeks, I was class president. And then from there, Chase just became my name. And now it's weird
Interesting.
if anybody besides my family calls me Austin.
Well, that was gonna be my question was what does your family call you by your
They,
first?
yeah, they call me Austin. Anyone who met me before my doctoral program calls me Austin.
Yeah.
So like close friends, but I'm seeing someone a little bit now, and anybody I meet, they call me Chase.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so yeah, our stories are so different than mine's a family name. So I'm the so mine's my mom says Corinne, and to me that sounds like my grandmother, so I say Corinne.
Uh-huh.
So my it's Corinne Renee Garrow, and my grandmother, I'm sorry, my great grandmother was the first Corinne. My grandmother, my mom, myself, and Cece's the fifth generation. And so up until my mom, so about grandmother, my great grandmother, they went by Corinne. My mom is Karine Lees, and she goes by Lees. I go obviously by Renee. And Cece is named Corinne Cecile after my grandmother. And
Oh,
I just,
okay.
I just call her Cece.
Yeah.
But yeah, ours is a family name. But I always I've never connected other than like being with my grandmother because she and I were really close. Um, Other than that, I don't have a connection to, not like yours of that's really cool.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, your story is much better than mine.
It's not a contest.
I know, but that no, that really is cool. Because like
Yeah.
I was just thinking while you're telling me the story, I'm like, do I have that type of connection with my first name?
Yeah.
Mine's more family oriented, but where I don't, someone, if I'm walking down the street and someone says, Kareen, I'm not turning around,
Sure.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. Even if my students will call me Miss Garrow, it doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Like I want them to call me Miss Renee. That's that's just who I am.
Yeah. Well, you know what's funny is first I'd cast aside a lot of parts of myself into Austin.
Yeah.
And eventually over time I reintegrated the things that were still useful, were still good. Like sometimes being alone or being able to be in solitude is actually a gift. And so we
Hmm.
can't break ourselves apart like that too much. And the ironic thing is when I was in what I talked to you about in relationship to your pain a lot now is emotion, correct?
Yeah.
And when I was in school, we did this thing. It was called the color personality test. You've
Hmm.
probably done it before, but I
Yeah.
was the only green in my class. And green, it's like hyper analytical,
Yeah.
very good leader in certain ways, and that
Sure.
totally describes me in certain ways. But I remember saying like, it's interesting that I'm a green, and the teacher, she was a blue, which was like very emotional and feeling. And I
Hmm.
said at that time, this was like first year of PT school, I said emotions are worthless. And she said,
Oh, you told me this. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, she said emotions are what make us human, and it like completely stumped me. I was like, oh. And
yeah.
now
Yeah.
it's all I do is talk about the emotional
Emotions.
connection. Yeah, so yeah, there's things even when you're striving for more, for better, you realize like, okay, I was
So
wrong.
you're the original emo person.
Oh
That's what
yeah,
you really say.
for sure. When I was in school, oh my gosh. Did you
Oh,
ever
I
see
was
the
just
long
joking
hair?
because of you saying that you just talk about emotions all day long.
Yeah, now it's come full circle, but oh,
Oh,
hold on,
funny.
I'm showing you this now. It's so funny. All right, let's find it. Photos, childhood photo. Oh, yes. Let's go.
No, how old were you?
Like 13? What, 2004, 13, yeah.
Stop. I would have never said that was you. That is so funny. Now I have to find one of mine. Look, I don't even think I have any of me on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I do.
Well, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
for the week ahead, I think the plan is clear. We're gonna continue our activities. We're gonna get
Okay.
a bucket for the sand,
Yes.
from a physical standpoint, and then
Yes.
from a emotional standpoint, we're gonna
Find the
uh
letter.
yes, we're cleaning out our
Yep.
closet.
Literally and emotionally. I know you were about to say it.
You knew. You're learning. So, last thing, what I'm
Yes.
gonna say. Um,
Can you use this? Of course.
okay. Well, I want to take it one slight step further. So I want to put this
Okay.
in module 6 of the course, of course, because we talked about structure and it not necessarily being the problem. But I also, it's
Oh,
okay to say,
structural.
yeah, yeah, from the
Yeah.
structural stuff. But I also, and it's okay to say no. But I think this would be a valuable one to be one of the weekly ones that shows up on YouTube. But that's
Okay.
up to you.
This one today?
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, why?
Okay.
Why this one more than others?
I think this one we really talked about a lot of things and made some really good connections. We talked
Okay.
about, I brought up Inside Out, which I always love pointing
Hmm.
out, because it's just so like it's the symbolism of all of this stuff
Yeah.
is just so fascinating to me. Um,
Okay.
and
Maybe I'll try watching it again.
yeah. Well, maybe you don't like it because of the way you aren't looking at emotion sometimes.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could very well be.
Yeah.
But now that you're making me look at him, maybe I'll look at him in a different light.
Yes, it won't be as
How about that?
scary.
It won't be as scary. Yeah. The little bitty cartoon creatures won't be as scary.
Kind of funny. Yeah.
True. True, true. Yes, you can. I do not mind. Yes. Thank you so much, Chase.
Yeah, absolutely. Today was awesome. I'm super proud of you. We're like making wild. We're on session 6 and we're the ground we've made is amazing. So
Well, I'm glad you said think so. No, I don't I shouldn't say it like that. I see a vast improvement already in just the times that we have met. Um and it's just 6 already.
it's only 6.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are we gonna do from here?
There's plenty. Don't worry. We're just beginning.
God. Okay.
One day you'll get
Got it.
excited.
I am. Don't no. I know I give you a hard time and all, but I promise you I do look forward to our meetings. I really do.
Me too. Me
Yes.
too.
I truly do enjoy our time. We talk together.
Yeah.
Um, and it does. I mean, it really not only helps me understand, the illness itself, but it helps me just feel better in general. Like it really does. Like I feel facing some of these things that I've not wanted to like that letter. I haven't thought about that letter in forever. But the way in which just talking about it and you reframing it, um, I immediately stopped, being emotionally upset over it and became like, oh yeah, he already said that I was his equal. What am I still fighting for? Like, yeah, it's not just physical therapy that you do.
Yeah, I think
You need to come up with another name for
I
what you do.
appreciate you saying that because I do think let's put it this way. I've always characterized physical therapy as 2 words, and I think we in the profession focus too much on the first one.
Yes, that's very
And
true.
the reality is it's all much deeper than that. And I'll tell you what, the fact that we go to these places is the actual path of healing because CRPS is a result of a
Yeah,
life that has been too intense from a self pressure standpoint and the things we've been through.
yeah,
And so actually getting better or recovering from
right.
CRPS is addressing that.
Get it. I really do. I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, thanks
Great.
so much, Renee. I'm
Absolutely.
excited.
Anytime.
I'll send you a summary soon today and we'll go
Okay.
from there.
And please don't forget those the stretches for my left
Oh
foot.
yeah. Okay. Include foot stretches for Renee. That's my AI listening.
Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Have a good day.
Yeah, you
Bye.
too. Bye bye.